Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This week we are talking about the Anderson connector for connecting the EcoFlow system. So we're going to hop in the van in just a minute. I'm finishing the connections to the electrical connections to the Nomadic X2 48 volt rooftop AC that we're installing on John and Susan's van. And so this one comes with the EcoFlow cable, obviously because we're using that kit. However, the ends of this cable we have to modify. And there's two different ways you can do this. If you don't want to modify it, I'm going to show you some options. But I think modifying is going to be the easiest way due to the current selection on the internet. So all of this stuff is really new as far as the 48 volt AC options that we have. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this photo. And so this photo is... it's an EcoFlow power, a battery cable where the ends have been cut off and prepped to have a connector. So whether if you are directly connecting this to a rooftop AC or you're wanting to put a Anderson connector on it, which that's what I'm doing today, you can buy this cable by itself. Anybody that's carrying the EcoFlow kit should have this cable in stock. It's called the EcoFlow Power Kit 48 volt cable. It's funny because the connector actually says battery cable because it's basically just a battery cable that has the end cut off. So it's very simple. It's a direct connection. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to put an end on it, and we're going to put this plastic end, this Anderson connector. And what we want to do is make sure that we have the appropriate gauge wire. So 6 gauge is the one we want to buy. And this is only, $10, so it's very inexpensive. But as far as how you crimp and connect this can be a little confusing. So that's why I wanted to hop on here before I got too far and teach you guys how to do that. So we bought the 6 gauge Anderson plug. And it's exactly the same for each size. It's a mirrored thing. So no matter what side you do, it's going to be correct. Now, how you push the pins in and what orientation they are, that's what I'm specifically going to show you in this video. You may see Anderson cables like this. So if you've ever bought one to connect maybe like a winch on a truck or some type of electrical connector for a trailer, that's typically what these are used for. But today we're going to take the end of it and we're going to clean it up, as you can see in here, and show you how to do that. I just found this before going live. Vanland actually makes this cable with an Anderson connector on the end already. So if you didn't want to do that, whatever unit that you have on top of your roof, that's a 48 volt unit, already has an Anderson connector. Technically, this would just be a plug and play. So they are selling that right now. And they've just got a cable. I've never seen this connector with these 2 screw holes. So not really vouching for this, but it looks like pretty close to what I'm using. Except mine's directly from EcoFlow. This looks like an EcoFlow adapter and a Anderson connector on the end. But it's from Vanland. I think these guys are pretty reputable. So... yeah, so you can buy that, and they have it in 10 and 20-foot lengths, just depending on what you need. Actually, I missed that. Let me go back and show you guys that. There you go. So Vanland has this cable, has a connector here, has an Anderson connector here. You can get 10 feet, 20 feet length. All right, let's hop in the van and let me show you what I'm doing with this connector. I'll show you how I'm actually connecting it to the wire. And we will have to modify the Nomadic cooling AC unit cable because it already has ring terminals on the, as you can see here, there are 2 ring terminals, positive and negative. We have to cut that with the razor, strip it back, and then we'll put the Anderson connectors on there. So let's hop in the van. Let's get started with that. And that's pretty much the live stream. If you guys have any questions on this, let me know and we can go from there. All right, let's make sure my mic's working. There we go. As soon as we get these crimped, I'm going to bring in the top portion of the EcoFlow system. I might as well put it in there now so I don't forget. Let's see if I can go grab it. Actually, not EcoFlow, Nomadic cooling. So I'm going to show you this part and how this gets installed. Because that is the goal for today, is to get all that taken care of. Make sure I can see my phone here. Okay, so we can take these clamps off. This is just was letting the wood glue set for these side pieces. So we have our two cables, and I've already crimped and did heat shrink on these. And so the most important thing about an Anderson connector is the orientation of the positive and negative, so what side that is. And then there's this little fin that when you put it into the connector, it clips in, and that's what holds it into place. Okay. So I'll probably draw this out on the drawing pad because it's going to be slightly hard to see this on camera. But what I've done is I've taken the connector, and you can see these square parts at the bottom. So these square parts at the bottom need to be flat. And if you turn around, the rounded parts need to be on top. So if you have it in that orientation, this pin, this little clip that locks in needs to be on the bottom side. And so inside here, there's this metal fin that goes up. And what you want to do is you're pushing this piece into the metal fin and it's locking. So as long as you have this down, so this little, what do I call this? This little end is down and it can grab onto the piece of metal. We're going to click in our first piece, and hopefully you guys can see this on camera. So if we flip this over, what I've done is I put two permanent marker dots on the top. And then I take these pieces right here, and I actually put a permanent marker dot on top. That way when I push it in, I make sure it's the correct orientation. And also when I take this and I use the hydraulic crimper, that the orientation's right and I don't screw up and go, you know, cockeyed. And then the most important part is making sure that this orientation is right. So both crimps that you do are flat like that, so that when it goes into the connector, it stays that way. If you mess up, technically you could twist this and do that, but I would suggest just get the cable relaxed and kind of find out where it naturally wants to sit, and then go ahead and make your two crimps. All right, so here is our Anderson connector, and see these little clips or those little claws are down, and then we've got our round part is on the top. So just like that. And you can see, hopefully you guys can see, but this first one is positive, second one's negative. So when we take this one, we're just going to loosely put the negative one in there. So we'll put the positive in, and you can see this is how it's going in. So that goes in. I'm not sure if that's going to be in focus. Anyway, so the first one's in. So now let's go, we'll go slow on the negative one. So again, the rounded part's up top. This little claw is at the bottom, and you can just push it in and then keep pushing, and you hear a click. And now it's locked in. So your positive's on top, negative's on bottom in this orientation. And then you should see both of those pieces, the metal comes out the top, not the bottom. Okay, so that's finished with this cable. It looks okay on camera. If you guys have any questions, we can get on the drawing pad and I can show you a little bit more detailed. But I've got a lot of slack here, so I've got enough room to play with connecting this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm getting ready to do my second connector. And then you can see here how, even though these are the same, when we crimp our positive connection in there, see, it's not going to go in like this. So when you flip it, it goes back to the right orientation, so positives on top, negatives on bottom, and then we'll plug this in together and we'll be plugged in. So next, we're going to be careful, and we're going to take a razor and we're just going to cut off. You could technically just cut and strip back. I don't want to remove any more wire than I have to for from the Nomadic cooling unit. So, because it is possible that I mess up, and I just want to have enough room so I can fix it if I mess up. Okay, so now I've exposed that whole entire piece. So I've got some extra there. Next, we want to take our crimping, our piece that we're going to crimp, and we want to just make a little mark where we want to strip this. Now, I would usually use this tool. It's called Jonard. It's a circular wire stripper. You guys have seen me use it in pretty much everything that I've done. For some reason, it's in the shop somewhere, and I don't know where it's at. So we're just going to do this one the old school way. Now, what I've found is these Anderson for 6 gauge, they're really tight for 6 gauge, so you got to make sure that you don't fray this copper wire pretty much at all, or it's just almost impossible to get in here. Now this one was much easier. This 6 gauge welding wire from Windy Nation, I feel like a 6 gauge with them, they give you a little bit more copper than I guess whoever Nomadic's using. But we've just made it to where when we push it in, we've got just a hair of copper showing at the top. So that's good for that one. So now what I'm doing is I'm just visually thinking about where I want the pins to lay. So we look like we're doing all right. Yeah, so when you're pulling this off, depending on what wire you have, just pull it straight off as much as you can. Try not to fray it at all. It's going to be making this connection easier for you. Okay, so I get both of my wires here. I'm just going to look at this, and I need to make sure that when I crimp it, that this claw part's facing you guys on the camera. Now the funny part is this is actually the hardest part, is just trying to hold up the I'll hold up the crimper. So I try to kind of pre-load this as much as I can. Then I make sure that I got the wire seated. All right, guys, well, that's very interesting. So this is 6-gauge wire from, this is the fun stuff about doing this stuff live. So I think we're going to have to change our die to actually get that crimp in there, so I'll be right back. So we're going to have to go look up in the manual why this is not the same gauge. Okay, let's try this one more time. All right, we're going to hop on the computer really quick and let's see why Nomadic Coolings has a smaller wire. So that's interesting. The wire from Nomadic for the 48 volt is 10 gauge, but the AC wire that's supplied from EcoFlow, or the one that I got, is definitely much larger. Anyway, well, that'll be interesting. Yeah, we got to get another crimp end to fix that. So we can't finish that live, but I'll finish it, get it fixed, and then. But that's interesting that the EcoFlow battery cable that is that you purchase to wire, which you just saw that I'm using, is a heavy duty gauge. It's more it's a 6 gauge versus a 10. Okay. Let me work on crimping that. I might be able to do that live. Let's just keep working on it. So note to self, this is appropriate. This is a thinner gauge cable going into here. So as long as we crimp the connection, we can move on, but that's a good thing for you guys to find out if you're going to do the same method. This is what you're going to run into. You're going to need to have a crimper to crimp down a 6 gauge down to on a 10. So you're just going to really have to crimp it pretty hard. So what I'm using to do this is my solar wire crimper. So we've got a really good crimp on here. So what we had to do to get that crimp is I'm using this Pro crimper, and I started at the 25 degree and I went to the 16 degree because you need to make sure the plug comes outside of it because it just gets a little stuck in there. crimps get in there, it just gets a little stuck. It's a crimper. All right, moving on to the next one. Before we move on to the next one, just make sure little claw piece is on the bottom. So now just get a little bit of electrical tape and we'll clean that up. So pro tip, always cut your electrical tape flush. Don't rip it off and tear it. If you do it flush, then the final end that folds over is just going to hold better. And it's not going to unravel over time. There you go. Okay, there you go. Nice pro install. And now we're going to be able to plug that in and disconnect it if we ever need to. There's that. Now we'll come back and we have some more stuff we're going to do to wiring, but next thing I want to talk about is something that I'm thinking I might be able to capture on video. I gotta go to the hardware store and get either M8 bolts, and these all protrude through the ceiling, so I can't use these. So we're gonna have to get shorter ones, or threaded rod and cut it. But I think we can find some shorter ones at Lowe's or Home Depot, and then that'll allow us to find them. So what I'm going to do is I screw it all the way in, and then I'll get a tape measure, make a note. So I have a 1-inch piece of aluminum that's going to be designed to go from left to right. This comes with a bracket to mount this down, but when you have a nice low profile roof like this, like we do, you're not going to be able to use those. So like I did on the Adventure Van Ford Transit, I designed a aluminum 1-inch square tubing that's cut at a certain angle on the left and right. Then I pre-drilled the hole, and then that piece goes in. I do a Loctite peel marine, let that cure overnight, and then that way when I get my direct bolts, I can come back. I'll put that through the square tubing, and then now the square tubing is part of these roof supports, or the ceiling supports. And then I'll clamp it all down. But before I do that, I'll make sure everything's nice and aligned. We'll do some black RTB sealant, and we're using the DIY Van 14 by 14 inch roof transit adapter. The Nomadic X2 comes with its own 14 by 14 gasket that's a peel and stick. But as you guys can see here, this is just on here, temporarily, so we can get these wires mounted. But we'll put that sealant on there, and then we'll let it sit down on the sealant, put the bolts in, and then we'll go ahead and torque it down. Then once that's finished, I'm going to connect the wires. We'll put all the wires back up in the roof, and then the next thing that we'll do is we'll go and may ask why I'm doing that. I've seen a bunch of videos. Now, it's only AC that I've installed in the RTX Nomadic series, RTX 2000, and it comes with its own system that comes through the roof and it's sealed. The videos that I've seen online, the intake, which is right here, it is sucking air from the inside of the roof, which number one, I don't like that because we have Havelock wool in here. I don't want this getting into the AC unit. I don't want any of the dust or anything going in there. But everyone that I see install it, it's sucking up through this roof. And air's going to come through the path of least resistance. So if it's inside this chamber, that's where it's going to come from, regardless of this intake here. So I don't want it doing that. So I want to block off this whole entire area and seal it. One, for intake purposes. Two, because when this cold air comes out, the last thing you want to do, especially with this nice cedar or any type of wood in a van, is the last thing you want to do is have some type of area where condensation can form. And the first place it's going to happen, because all that you're supplied with is this baffle piece that goes right here, like that. And so what happens is the air from inside the van comes into here, but the ceiling also does. The air comes out here, but it also goes into these ceiling channels. And on a hot day, it's going to condense, and I don't want that. So I'm either going to spray foam this tonight or do the XPS foam block and glue it in after I do my aluminum pieces. And then I'll take the metal foil tape and we'll tape the whole inside. So that way it's completely sealed from the inside of the roof and we don't have any possible condensation or any of that moisture forming on the inside of this. Because that's just not going to be good over time. It's out of sight, it's out of mind. You're not going to be able to see even if it is. So if we seal it now, we'll know that we're fine. And then even in the worst scenario, if it does condense on that foil tape, it's just going to come down here, but it'll be within the inside of the van, not hidden up in the ceiling. Okay, so that's going to be it for this live stream. We're going to go get some bolts. We're going to modify our pieces of aluminum, get some spray foam. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then we want the slow expanding. This is the ones for doors and windows. We don't want the fast expanding foam. And then that way we can install our aluminum spray foam. We'll let that sit overnight, and then we'll come back, bolt this down, plug everything up, and yeah, that'll be the AC check off our list. All right, I'll hop back on the computer. If you guys have any questions, let me check in the comments. I know it's an early stream today. I don't think we have too many people watching, but that's okay. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, so note to self, the Nomadic has 10 gauge, and the gauge from the EcoFlow battery cable, what size is that? Yeah, nobody's given the size. Anyway, that is it for today's live stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions on this, just check in with us later. We'll be working on the AC unit, getting it all finished up today. And if we do have time, we might do another live stream later on this afternoon after we do a trip to the store. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it to anybody doing these Anderson plug connections in their van. Doesn't have to be for AC. It could be any other Anderson connection in the van. You can use it for trailers, other power uses. Yeah, so also check out the DIY van build cheat sheet. That is our free DIY van build cheat sheet for you guys. Let me pull it up real quick. So if you head on over to vanbuilderhq.com, that is our blog website. We've got a lot of great articles, how-to build guides, camper van products, product buying guides, as well as all the blog articles down here. So a lot of information. But what's cool is we have a DIY van build cheat sheet. This is the last 3 years of my Amazon purchases put into an Excel sheet, organized just for you, help you with their van conversion. It's completely free. All you got to do is click download, put your name and email address, and it'll come straight to your inbox. I think it'll really help you out with your DIY van build. All right, guys, until next live stream, thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.